First, we really need to define what an ally is. And Webster has plenty of definitions, but I went and came up with my own. An ally is someone who advocates unconditionally for the LGBTQIA community. The key here is unconditionally, because if you are one of those people who say things like, I like gay people, but I just don't want them to be married, or express that they're gay when I'm around, or exist on the same plane as I do, you're not really an ally. Your support needs to be unconditional, because the moment it becomes conditional, we can't depend on it, and you're not really an ally. So, bye. Now that you've determined that you're an ally, don't expect trumpets from us. See that guy right there? He's not you. Basically, for a lot of people in the community, being an ally is basically just a marker for being a decent human being, and being a decent human being is not something that deserves to be rewarded. That isn't to say we don't love our allies. We do. We do. We appreciate the support, especially when it's unconditional, that you guys give. However, we're not handing out awards for being decent human beings. Another thing that's likely to happen when you hang out with LGBTQIA people is that you're probably going to get confused. And that's completely okay. We don't have to understand each other at all times, but if you do need to know what something means right now, Google's your friend. Just Google it. Now, a lot of LGBTQIA people are okay with dishing out answers, but a lot of them are very, very, very tired of having to say the same thing over and over again because straight people don't bother to learn. So if you want to be a good ally, take it upon yourself to educate yourself so that we don't have to keep telling you the same thing over and over again. This brings me to my final point. You, as an ally, are not part of the LGBTQIA community. This does not mean that you won't be allowed into spaces where the community is. It simply means that you're not a part of us. Which makes sense. You're straight after all. This brings us to a question that is asked of the community quite a bit. Well, if allies aren't part of the community, then what does the A stand for? I'm going to break it down real simple what the A stands for. Some of you know from this flag or from prior knowledge that the A in LGBTQIA stands for asexual. For those of you who don't know, the A in LGBTQIA stands for asexual. Say it with me this time. The A stands for asexual. And just in case you missed it, the A does indeed stand for asexual. This brings us to my new segment, questions not to ask LGBTQIA people because they're super offensive and stuff. First, I'd like to begin with a little life tip. I can't really believe that I have to go over this, but don't ask strangers about their sex life. It's just a good rule of thumb if you want to make sure things aren't just really awkward. Okay, moving on to gay guys. Some things you shouldn't ask gay guys include, who's the girl in your relationship? They're both guys. That's the point. There's no girl. They're both dudes. Moving on, do not ask them to be your gay best friend. If it's meant to be, it will be, but don't ask. It just implies that you're fetishizing them. Additionally, yelling out a hey or a yas, queen is just gross, so don't do it. Just don't do it. Moving on to lesbians. Again, another question that's asked quite often is, who's the man in your relationship? When there are two women in a relationship with each other, neither one is the man because they're both women. I know it's rocket science, but just bear with me. Another thing that lesbians get a lot is, can I watch? This normally comes from sleazy straight guys who want a free show or something, but the fact of the matter is lesbians don't exist for straight pleasure. They exist because they exist. They exist for themselves, not for you. Moving right along to the bisexual and pansexual communities, aka my communities. One we get quite a bit, not only from straight people, but from people in the LGBT community, is you can't just pick one. No, we can't. We like both. Deal with it. Next is, will you have a threesome with me and my significant other? I get this one quite a lot. This might be a little hard to grasp, but bisexuals don't exist for the pleasure of straight couples. We exist for our own goals, whatever they may be. I'm not going to sleep with you and your boyfriend. I'm not going to sleep with you and your girlfriend. You got to fix your whatever problems you have by yourself. Leave me out of it. So you're just doing this for attention, right? This is usually a question proposed by a straight guy to a bisexual girl, thinking that she kisses girls just for the attention of guys. Again, not true. Not everything's about straight people. Moving on. You have sex with pans. My pansexual brethren get this quite a bit. You're not funny. You're not the first person who's come up with this. And they've heard it 1,000 times, and it definitely wasn't funny the first time, so stop. So, you're a whore. This is just generally not a good question to ask anybody, but no, we're not whores. Moving on to the transgender community. So, what do you have down there? Again, another good rule of thumb is to not ask strangers what they have in their pants. It's just really rude, and it's a personal question. But what are you really? This one is used by a lot of cis people to invalidate the trans person's identity. If they told you they're a boy, they're a boy. If they told you they're a girl, they're a girl. If they told you they're neither, they're neither. It's not that hard to grasp. Wow, you look better than me. Now, this one you might think is a compliment because it kind of looks like a compliment, but in reality, it's just kind of a backhanded compliment saying that, wow, it basically says that because you're trans, you shouldn't look as good as a cis person. And that's really icky and problematic. So don't do that. Just tell them they look nice. Is that so hard? Did you get the surgery? By the surgery, if you don't know, I'm referring to gender reassignment surgery, which is the big to-do, usually. But, again, it's a very personal question. You don't go asking strangers what their penises or vaginas look like. So don't do it to a trans person, okay? Okay, moving. This brings us to our final community, the gray ace community, or as it's more commonly known, the aromantic and asexual community. The first one that they get quite a bit is, so you're like a plant or a cell, right? Get it? Because cells and plants they have asexual reproduction. Oh my god, it's so funny. I am just dying of laughter right here. Yeah, it's really not that funny. And they've heard it at least 2 million times, and there's no special prize for being the 2,000,001st person to make that joke, so just don't do it. So, you're a sociopath. This one goes more towards the members of the aromantic community because they don't really feel romantic attraction to people. So, that people interpret that usually as they can't feel love in their cold, soulless monsters. Rude. Just really freaking rude. Okay? Just don't ask that question. It's freaking rude. Finally, what do you and your significant other do in bed? I go back to my previous statement of don't ask people how they have sex. It's rude, very invasive, and you wouldn't ask a straight couple how they did that, so yeah, just don't do it. This concludes my presentation on how to be a good ally to the LGBTQIA community. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you found me snarky, tough toothpaste. Hope you have a pleasant day.